Mm. Hey, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. Let's get open for business here. And I know I haven't done the switch yet. Been a little busy. In fact, I still have jet lag from being out in California with my daughter. It's crazy because I woke up at like 10 o'clock and it was like, whoa, yeah. That's the hard part about traveling to the West Coast and stuff. You get there, you're still sleepy when everybody's up, and you finally get used to it. You come back, and now you're sleepy when everybody's up. But it is what it is. But let's get our football gods awake this morning and hopefully shining down on our Dallas Cowboys. All right, I want to talk about something and try to explain one more time to some people out there. I guess the people out there that say I'm a hypocrite and everything else because we signed DeMarcus Lawrence, we should have traded that guy. He's had, that drug suspension for PEDs. He's had an injured past. It was a waste of money to pay him $105 million. Stop right there. Stop right there with the $105 million. You know what? I pray to you football gods that the Dallas Cowboys do in fact pay him $105 million. I do hope that happens because that means that he has literally lived up to the contract. And after year three, they say, you know what? He's playing so well, we need to keep him. He's playing lights out. We're lucky to have that guy at that price. Because here's the reality of the way contracts work. People always focus in on that bottom line number, that number that's out there in the atmosphere, that 105 million, when reality it's not 105 million. Very rarely, and I mean very rarely, your chances of reaching that bottom line number that you see on those contracts is like winning the lottery twice. It doesn't happen. Focus in on the guaranteed money. 65 million. It's about $21.5 million a year deal, something they were already committed to with the franchise tag with him for 1 year. So really you're talking about them giving him an extension on the franchise tag of 2 years at $44 million. That's what it really amounts to. Bottom line. But here's the difference here, guys. Because you'll compare it to, oh, we got Des Bryant. We paid him that big contract, and then we ended up getting that $16 million cap hit. That's the difference here. The Dallas Cowboys in the past were freewheeling with their money. They would go through and, Miles Austin had a great year. Let's sign him to a long-term deal. And it ended up blowing him in the face. Marion Barber, oh man, the fans love the way that he just runs, like a raging bull and just runs over people and stuff. Signed him to a big contract. Jay Ratcliffe, man, he is a good defensive lineman. Sign him to a big fat contract. And the way they structured these things out there was out there. And when they left, what was left behind was a big ass cap hit. Understand, that's why it just became a self-feeding beast because of those contracts that put us in cap hell. That we'd have to go to Tony Romo and say, please, sir, can I have some more? And let's restructure, not renegotiate, restructure. There's a difference here, and that's another one of those things that people don't seem to understand. I'm trying to educate you. When a person restructures a contract, that means we're just moving the money around. We're not changing the amount of the contract. They're not giving money back. They're in fact getting a check saying, we're converting some of that money into guaranteed money and writing you a check, and we'll spread it out the length of the contract. That's what they did. So all those people that said that Tony Romo, he's a team guy, he's giving money back. Or all those people that say, well, Tom Brady, he's always taking less money. No, they restructures contract, just kicking it down the road. Tom Brady's cap number this year is like 28 million. He's not paying for peanuts, okay? And he also has Giselle. Just saying. But here's where the difference is in those past ones. The Dallas Cowboys are smart enough to look forward thinking. They're looking ahead. They know in 2020, we got $113 million of cap space. Let's go ahead and take DeMarcus Lawrence this year, give him the signing bonus and stuff, which is prorated over the life of the contract. We'll go ahead and pay him a $1.5 million salary this year. We will actually gain $9.5 million of cap room. And if it doesn't work out in 3 years, unlike, say, Des Bryant or Tony Romo or Marion Barber contracts, we can let him go with no pain, with no dead money. You understand that? When he turns 29, you have the option of saying, bye-bye. See you. It was great. Appreciate all you did. But not have to lose a cent more. And that's huge. That is huge. Because when you look at a team like, let's say, the Washington Redskins, who right now have paid Landon Collins, and I got grief because you're a hypocrite because you talked about signing DeMarcus Lawrence, as a great thing, and you say Landon Collins was a terrible thing. Yeah, well, I say Landon Collins is a good player, but he can't cover. He's a liability in pass coverage. And for the Washington Redskins to spend that kind of money on a guy right there at safety, when the team needs to be imploded and rebuilt, because make no mistake about it, Jay Gruden is a dead man walking. You're going to get a new coach in there. The fact that you don't have a quarterback, what that team really needs to do instead of paying Landon Collins an $84 million contract is redshirt the season. Let it go to hell in a handbasket. Lose as much as possible. Dump all the salaries you can. Let Jay Gruden go. Hire a coach. Let him be the guy to pick the quarterback for his team and rebuild with a clean slate. So that's why I say signing Landon Collins is a bad deal for the Washington Redskins, because Landon Collins isn't going to get them to the Super Bowl next year. Am I wrong on that? Not with all the holes and all the places they need to be filled. DeMarcus Lawrence might help the Cowboys get to the Super Bowl because the Cowboys are closer to that run than, say, the Washington Redskins are. Now, maybe I'm wrong because a lot of times teams worst in the division end up turning it around the next year because nobody thinks much about them. But I don't think that's going to be the case with the Washington Redskins. So you basically are looking right now as the Dallas Cowboys having about that 3-year window. Running backs start getting older and things and, start kind of slowing down. We hope that doesn't happen with Zeke, but it does. You look at Tyron Smith and, things like that. His body will start breaking down and things. So you're looking at right now about a 3-year window of trying to win. And that's where this is great deal for the Cowboys. If DeMarcus Lawrence ends up somehow becoming injured plagued like Des Bryant did and doesn't perform, well, okay, you can let him go. If he does perform, well, you just go ahead and keep doing that same deal at $21 million. Because 4 years from now, as the salary cap goes up $10 million a year, as the price for players continues to go up, if he is still playing at this level right now, 2 years from now, this will be a bargain. So yes, I believe that is the right move. Now the second thing I say is New England, because people will say that you're a hypocrite because that's not New England-ish. New England will hold on to a guy like Gronk and pay him. They'll hold on to a Tom Brady, and you're right, they will let premier people go and reload. But I think at this point, getting a draft pick for DeMarcus Lawrence, you are not going to get in kind what you got from him, because pass rushers take time to develop. And there's not a lot of pass rushers, great ones, out there like him. You see what the Bears gave up to get Khalil Mack. You were better off at this point holding on to him because he is peaking at this point. So you can agree or disagree with me, but understand, stop this whole thing of it's a $105 million contract, because it's really not. It's a $65 million contract. That's what it is. That is the bottom line. But I hope he gets paid $105 million, because that means, like I said, he's playing incredible. Now, don't forget, tomorrow night, we're going to do our Dak Prescott Stand Up for Cancer drawing. I'll go through one more time and do the list to make sure that I've got everybody on there who is supposed to be on there for the drawing. They reached the goal. Shout out to my quarterback, and so on. So tomorrow night, make sure you tune in if you're one of the ones. Well, tune in regardless or not. If you were one of the ones that ended up doing a donation to Stand Up for Cancer for Dak Prescott. Now, in my mind, the next question is, who will be the next one to get a contract? And for the Cowboys, the way you want to look at this is I think it's Amari Cooper. And the reasons why I say it's Amari Cooper is if we go through and we start looking at the cap, here's the thing. Ah, have they done it? Wait. I think they've updated. Hold on. Let me make sure. Oh, no, they didn't update it. I didn't see DeMarcus Lawrence there for a second. But here's the thing. If you're the Cowboys, the contract you want to do next would end, excuse me, would end up being Amari Cooper. And the reason why you want to do Amari Cooper is, one, you want to get it done before next year, and he's a free agent. But two, because of the cap number that he has of $13.9 million. In the same way, the DeMarcus Lawrence deal, which is currently $20.5 million until he signs, which then goes down to 11.5, then the same thing can happen with Amari Cooper. With Amari Cooper being almost a $14 million hit, you could sign him to a longer-term deal in the same way that we know we have $113 million in cap space for next year. You go ahead and basically kick a bunch of that money for next year, and you can reduce that 13 to maybe 7 or 8 million, thus creating more cap room. So currently we have about $20 million in cap room. You do Amari Cooper's deal, you could end up having about 27, 28. And then you go ahead and you start working on Dak and Zeke and so on. And understand what you're going to do is you don't want to use up all of that $113 million. There will be other money that you will get next year. You'll get $10 million basically from the cap going up like it normally does. You're going to have some of these players that are currently on your roster that won't be, and you'll save that money as well. So our cap number will grow even more for next year. But you still don't want to use all of it up because you still want to have that money in free agency. And especially if Robert Quinn ends up playing really, really well, you may decide, you know what, we want to re-sign that guy for the following year. Or the same thing with Randall Cobb. Or there may be other free agents out there that you say they can help us go on a run for a Super Bowl. So that's where we are, and I'll divulge into that a lot more later. But I think Amari Cooper will be the next deal you'll start seeing. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to start seeing them knocked off, boom, 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 one right after the other, now that they finally got the DeMarcus Lawrence deal done. So as always, guys, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. As we said, 151 days, 8 hours, 46 minutes, and 5 seconds away from kickoff of the 2019 season. And I'll see you soon.